Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, some good, some bad, some simply beyond this realm. The tales you are about to hear are the untold stories of those who entered the shadows, perhaps against their own will. These are the Terror Tapes. Terror Tapes, Episode 5, Flush and Mourning. Bill woke to the metallic tang of despair, a taste that had settled in his mouth and refused to leave, like an unwelcome tenant. His entire life had become a series of grayscale moments, mundane, flavorless, and devoid of excitement. He felt especially hollow since losing his mother, the only person who had ever truly understood him. She had been his anchor. Her calm voice and steady presence added vibrant colors to his otherwise colorless life. She'd always known what to say when the world felt unbearable, and the sound of her laughter was a cure for his darkest days. Now, without her, he drifted aimlessly through a dull routine, her absence a hollow echo that reverberated through every corner of his existence. An outcast by nature, Bill spent most of his days alone, except for the occasional mention from Todd, a friendly coworker at his data entry job. But even Todd's cheerful demeanor couldn't pierce through the fog of Bill's grief, often leaving Todd alone in the hallway. Bill felt like a boat adrift at sea, lost with nowhere to go and truthfully no reason to go on. He was willing to accept having no reason for living before he was willing to accept the truth that his mother is actually gone. One morning, as Bill stared into the bathroom mirror brushing his teeth, he noticed a small, fatty lump on his chest. It didn't hurt, nor did it feel like much of anything, so he ignored it. For a few days he carried on, his life as unremarkable as ever. But by the week's end, the lump had doubled in size. Concerned, he made an appointment with his doctor. After a series of tests, the doctor reassured him it was benign, just an odd growth that could be removed with a simple procedure. The surgery was uneventful. He was in and out in less than an hour, and frankly didn't really hurt much. Bill struggled at night because it was when his outside world was the most quiet and his inside world made the most noise. The thoughts about his mother crept in and his grief grew. He woke to a sharp, stabbing pain in his chest in the middle of the night. He assumed it was post-operative discomfort and tried to sleep through it. However, the lump had returned the next morning, larger than before. It felt heavy, like he was carrying a lead weight beneath his skin. Sitting up in bed took effort, and his shirt stretched over the swelling mass. He called the doctor's office, but they dismissed his concerns, citing normal post-surgical swelling. They assured him it wasn't cause for any concern, yet it was hard not to stress over the growth, considering it weighed so much more than the first. It affected everything he did. The extra weight he carried around made him sweat profusely while doing simple daily activities like walking upstairs. He ate more than usual, and he was stressing far more than normal. As if grieving his mother's death wasn't enough, life had thrown this new, weird alien growth at him. The stress was growing to be too much for Bill, but no matter what was happening in his life, good or bad, nothing replaced his undeniable mourning that attached itself to every thought. The lump wasn't just a physical burden, but a relentless manifestation of his helplessness. Each time Bill looked at it, it reminded him of the unbearable grief he felt and reminded him of how his life has spiraled out of control since losing his mother. And every time he looked at it, it seemed like the growth just got a little bit bigger. One night, the weight on his chest became unbearable. He lay in bed, struggling to breathe from the weight of the bump pressing down on his chest as he inhaled and exhaled. It felt like someone was sitting on top of his chest. The weight of the growth was worrisome, but nowhere near as concerning as the pulse he felt beating from within the growth. This was new. The pulse didn't match his heartbeat, though. It beat faster, almost erratically, and to make things worse, he swore he could feel something within the growth moving, something of its own development. Panic set in. Bill wanted to scream, to claw the fucking thing out of him, but he was too weak to even sit up or muster the strength to scream. Hours passed like this until exhaustion finally claimed him. When he woke up, the lump had grown exponentially, spanning from across his chest, creeping down to his stomach. The skin was stretched thin over it, veins visibly snaking through the grotesque mask. It pulsed slower, but thudded with more power, glowing faintly with each pump. Bill could make out a vague shape through the translucent flesh. A being, curled up with a cord connecting to it, that ran into his own body. Bill could barely reach for his phone on the nightstand. He tapped it a couple times, and then made a call to Todd.
Bill? Are you actually calling me?
Todd asked, surprised. I need some help, Bill struggled to say. The weight of the mask made it hard to utter the words. I take myself to the hospital, but I can barely move.
Don't sweat it, man. I'll be right there,
Todd said, and then hung up. As he waited, Bill attempted to get out of bed, but the weight of the growth pinned him down. Desperate, he rolled himself off the mattress and landed face first on the floor. The impact sent a searing pain through his chest that expanded to the rest of his body. He cried out in agony as the pain radiated. While writhing in pain, he noticed a small hole, almost like a crack from the fall, at the top of the growth, with a clear fluid trickling out of it. Bill poked at the opening and more fluid oozed out. The pain was excruciating, but he also felt a slight intoxicating relief, almost like popping a pimple. Desperate for relief, he pulled at the incision, widening it. It reached the width of a watermelon when, to his horror, he felt something inside. He couldn't make out quite what it was at first. Was it some sort of like coarse or thin seaweed? Or was it fucking hair? He wrapped a handful of it up and began pulling it. As it came out, he saw long, gray, wet hair come out of the hole attached to something even heavier and more solid. Bill pulled and pulled. Despite the pain, he knew whatever the fuck this was, it needed to get out of him. But what came out was the last thing he'd ever expected to happen in the history of humanity. An entire, naked, curled up human body emerged from the hole. It slowly unrolled, and what, or rather who, Bill saw laying on the ground, freshly birthed from his own body, was his own mother. The same person who had birthed him and supposedly left him days ago, and the one person he could never get off of his mind. She coughed and gasped for air, clinging onto the ground, her skin purple but slowly filling with color as she took in more air. An umbilical cord ran from her stomach into the hole. Bill grabbed the umbilical cord and gave it a small yank, feeling the other end inside his stomach. He continued to pull on it until his mother's hand fiercely gripped his arm, and he was met with her piercing eyes. "Hi, honey," she said, smiling. Bill was in complete shock and lacked even a word to utter because his mind raced 1,000 miles an hour. Reality as he knew it ceased to contain any more logic. She got up on her knees, crawled over to him, and placed her hand softly against his face. "Oh, Billy boy, I'm so proud of you. You did really good, baby, real good." His mother's voice, her face, her presence. It was too much. She showered him with gratitude, her energy growing stronger with every word. Meanwhile, Bill felt himself weakening. His body lost definition and muscle, the fat melting away until he was little more than skin and bone. He watched, horrified, as the growth shrank and his mother grew more robust, more alive. The umbilical cord connecting them pulsed. A knock at the door startled them both. "Bill? Are you ready? Can I come in?" Todd shouted from the other side of the front door. "Don't worry, sweetie. I'll take care of it," his mother said as she grabbed the hold of the umbilical cord and ripped it apart with her teeth, then stormed out of the room. Yellow liquid poured out of the umbilical cord, and Bill could feel his energy slowly diminish. The front door swung open, and Bill's mother stood there healthy, youthful, vibrant, and of course, wet and naked. "Bill's better than ever, sweetheart. He really knows how to make a gal feel alive, if you know what I mean," she said as she struck a pose against the door frame and winked at Todd. "And it looks like you might know a thing or two as well." Bill tried screaming out for Todd, but his voice barely went above a whisper, even using all of his energy. "Is this what you called me over here for? I left my kid's birthday to help you, asshole!" Todd yelled beyond Bill's mother right before he stormed off. His mother returned, kneeling beside him. "You did so well, Billy," she cooed. "You're such a good boy." She picked up the severed umbilical cord that ran into his stomach and began sucking on the end, drawing out the last remnants of his energy. As she did, Bill's mind cleared. He realized this was not his mother. The real her would never want this for him. She would never want him to suffer. She would want him to do anything to stop his suffrage, even if it meant losing her. Summoning the last of his strength, he whispered, "I don't miss you anymore." His mother froze, choking on the fluid she had just been consuming. Her body convulsed and she collapsed beside him, her form rapidly decaying. Flesh dissolved into dust, leaving only a pile of bones that crumbled further into nothingness. Bill lay there, drained and barely alive, watching as the remnants of the creature vanish. His vision blurred and darkness enveloped him. Bill's eyes shoot wide open when a cell phone ring snaps him awake. He sits up panicked and out of breath, looking around the room, realizes he's back in his room, in his bed, untouched. The growth was gone. His body felt normal. He lifted his shirt to find smooth, unblemished skin, not even a sign of the sutures from the first growth. Relief washed over him, but it was short-lived when he looked at his phone and nearly had a heart attack when he read the caller ID. "Safe Landings Hospice Care," it read. Trembling, he answered. "Hello?" Bill asked, nearly shaking from the fear of what he was about to hear. "Mr. Peters?" The voice said it on the line. "I'm sorry to inform you that your mother passed away early this morning." Bill hung up, staring at the ceiling. Tears streamed down his face, but for the first time in months, he felt something other than grief. He felt free. And that concludes another journey into the dark world of the Terror Tapes. If you enjoyed the terror, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join our growing legion of fear seekers, and together we'll explore the darkest corners of the unknown. Until next time, stay haunted.